the B22F wallet is shown in 2023 to make movements, right? So that's it can either be taken as like they wanted to prevent bad actors or they were trying to peg it initially. That's where people get confused
Not only
because like
that, this morning, so I'm sure you guys are aware of Asynth and his little team that have been currently looking into it. Now, they seem genuine, right? Like, I don't know if they are genuine, obviously, but they seem genuine. And they said they're just looking into it on the sidelines. You know, they want it resolved for the chain just as much as everyone else. And apparently, there's a P-Maker admin chat. I don't know if you know about it, Royson, or not. I don't want, like, I'd rather him be here and him explain it.
I've read the whole thing. Yeah, it's really
So
there's a lot there.
so decentralized me or 99 are basically saying, or we're saying, don't dig too deep or don't try to do too much because then you're getting in the way of Richard Hart's work or something along them lines. So that is another kind of red flag to me. Like, why would you say to someone who's a dev who codes and who knows this shit not to dig deep into it or not to do certain shits? Because then in the way you're getting in the way of Richard Hart's plan, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Which
they
is
said you can impede the progress or whatever. Like if he could I forget what he said exactly, but he said he could it would basically hurt the peg or whatever if he revealed too much or something like that. Like it would throw it off its course, which is just like the biggest bullshit ever, bro.
Yeah, to be clear, I don't think Nine Iron has bad intentions. He obviously has a bag, right? So there's that. But like he never was like gave me weird vibes when I talked to him and basically tried to like shut me down. But yes, it was very much like let him cook. But then on the flip side, it's like, well, okay, if the auctions go and the community gets P Maker, and I talked about this early when the exploit came out. I was like, if we can get these auctions to go and the community owns P Maker, then either way, no matter what camp you're in, it's better because we have some control, and if someone passes a good proposal or a spell, that we can always back it up and discuss it.
Would you,
For example, just fixing the exploit would be like one of the first steps.
yeah, but ain't there not enough P maker basically in the liquidity pool to be
Well,
able
the
to?
auctions would
No,
mint the
the auctions
maker.
would give us that. Yeah, we burn a ton
Okay,
of Pdai basically.
okay, I'll get you.
Well, you first you need to again, and my issue with that is like who's gonna put up the Pdai to burn?
I
Who's
would,
gonna
I would do a little bit,
You
and I
do
think a
a
lot of
little
other
bit,
people.
sure, but not again. Your guys' little amounts don't matter. With all due respect, I mean, your guys' amounts don't matter.
the minter was way ahead of you guys. Way ahead. That's the problem.
I mean, how
Well,
much? How much are you gonna put up, Royson? What, 1,000? You're gonna give up $1,000?
I might put up
$1,000?
10%, 20% of my bag, right? And yeah, that's not a lot, but I'm saying like there's other actors that would. I'm just saying, like I think there's possibility there, whereas right now we have no possibility.
On that, Roy, I don't think there's a possible way that anybody that has purchased Pdai can even match with someone that's been minting. I don't think, man.
I mean, if there's a way, you know, if it is possible, if they try at least, you know, there's nothing wrong with trying, I guess. But
Some
then
people would
obviously,
have to mint. Some people would have to mint benevolently for it and counter him through the burn through the minting. And someone we would have to bring those people over, and they would have to exploit it in a good fashion. Basically, that's the only way to fight fire with fire, man.
That's where I get confused. Is the 5996 hasn't had any like admin powers, so there's nothing showing that he's like a good actor yet. Like you could say the damage he caused helped with the vaults, but it's kind of still confusing to me.
so do you guys think that? Do you, Royson? Do you guys still think that the Minter is a good actor in the eco? I'm just wondering, obviously, because
So since Katie entered the chat, essentially, it's really difficult because she showed that he was fished in 2023, then the minting started. So like that was either an elaborate scheme to put us off and be like, oh, it's this Vietnamese guy who's doing it, or you know what I mean? Like that's where it gets even deeper than what I originally thought.
so with him bridging in that 20K the other day, because I know there was a lot of posts going around saying, "Oh, that shows that he's a good actor."
I
Da-da-da-da.
don't know.
But the only
That
reason
it could
was
go either way.
the only reason he bridged that 20K was to mint more PDAI, if I'm correct, no? Or am I wrong in that regard?
Potentially, but yeah, like I don't know why you would just forget to like leave some Pdai.
So, from my understanding, what you're saying is decentralized me, Nine Iron, and Spyros are insiders. That's basically what your conclusions are.
Well, Spyro, we've had an inkling on being an insider since the start.
I
Like
thought
I
I
said,
thought Spyro was your boy. I thought Spyro was on your team.
Spyro was the first guy to come out with the information about the Vietnam.
Yeah, bro. I
guess-
thought he was one of your boys. Like
Yeah,
No,
he
we
has
had-
take down the
bro,
Pdai
we
he's the guy
had-
with the
we-
voice changer, but he's the guy with the voice changer, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
he's the 8th grade ethical hacker. I was like, I thought it was Giga. I genuinely thought it was like Giga trying to troll.
No,
So-
bro. We genuinely no idea who that is. All we know is that he came out
Based
with a bunch of
OG,
information.
honestly, I thought the same thing. But when I see them both, because I was really, I genuinely thought the same thing. I'll be honest. I'll be transparent in this regard. and I did think the same thing. But when I see both their mics open and them talking, to me it was like a bit okay. Maybe it's not. I even took a
Yeah.
screenshot of it because at first I genuinely did think, okay, this must be Giga on another thing. I genuinely did think that. I wouldn't
Bro,
lie to you.
what?
Yeah,
What
bro,
kind
I
of
did.
manipulation do you think, bro?
I did.
I just got back and heard it was Giga on another thing or
It
something.
was
No, no,
Giga
no.
doing
Dude,
it
they
all,
thought
bro.
you were
Giga's the mentor.
Spyro,
Yeah,
bro.
We thought you
They
were
thought you were
Spyro, bro, in the
Spyro.
beginning. We did. And there's a few of us who did think it
Nah.
was you, right? But when I see
Bro,
both mics open at the same time and talking, then I was like, okay, fair enough. It's not Giga. It's not
Yeah.
Yeah,
Giga.
no, bro, come on now. I'd be
So,
way more clever than that if I was trying to trick you guys.
so going back to the thread, so the conclusions are that you believe 99 Capital, Decentralized Me, and Spyros are insiders. That's basically what you can infer from it, without any biases or objective or who's good or bad. That's a objective conclusion one could make based
yeah,
on those
that
findings.
they are insiders. I'm not saying they could be being manipulated. Maybe they are. Maybe they're also drinking the same Kool-Aid Somi is, bro. Like I said, I don't think Somi's a bad guy, bro. I genuinely think like he believes what he's saying. And
I,
Right.
I,
back
I believe Sami's conviction also,
Yeah, no, you
and
can see his
yeah,
on-chain data. He is like you can see from his on-chain. Listen, no one in hell is gonna
I
go
think he's a
sell
real one.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
buy again because
yeah.
they're in the game. So, in my opinion, Somi is innocent in this regard. If it is to do with bad actors, I don't think Somi's involved at all. Not one bit.
Yeah,
100%.
I don't think so. And
Okay,
then
so what are the scenarios now? We have they're in on it because they have bag bias and they want it to continue and they're being misled, or
Yes.
well,
they
that's the
there
Yes.
is
Somi
a
belief.
Well, look, definitely bag bias. Whether
right.
there's definitely some people that actually believe it. Like we had a guy on here the other day saying that he's putting URLs in of Richard's tweets into Chat GPT and getting secret codes. Like all this, like people that are like conspiracy theorists, I think do actually believe it. But there are a lot of people that are bag biased. Like you, come on, you got to be real here, man. Like I would be too. if
Panda,
I,
can I
but
say
I
one
mean,
thing, brother? Do you know when we say the concept of bag bias? I think that's a fallacious thing to say in the first place because we're all
why?
bag biased. Like anything, whenever we talk about Pulsechain in general, anyone could say you're bag biased. So
That's
Right.
where you're wrong, though, bro. That's
But
where
here's
I
yeah,
hold
but
zero pulse. I hold zero pulse, and I want pulse to go up. Does that
yeah,
make me bag biased?
you have zero PLS.
we want the
Yes, I
chain to
have
go
zero
up.
PLS,
Do you
bro. I
have
have
any
zero
tokens on the
PLS.
Pulsechain
Let's
ecosystem?
not get into the weeds about it.
Yeah,
I think we
what
both
the difference here, based OG, right, is like there's being bag bias. Yeah, we're all bag bias. But if you're bag bias because you're holding a bag of something that someone is manipulating, and you know that like that's a bit
That
disingenuous.
no, I understand, but again, I don't agree with the premise about them like these guys knowing, and it's like a malicious, like we're adding assumptions based on partial evidence, right? That we're saying, okay, there are these assumptions that we're making about these guys who are having bag bias because they're manipulating this narrative, this token, in a way that financially benefits them, whilst like exploiting others. Like when you say it in that framework, yeah, I get you, but I don't agree with that premise. And obviously we talk about detail and stuff like that. So like personally for me, I wouldn't go ahead and say bag bias and say these guys are doing it in a way that's manipulative. That's why I said at the start, I think it's fair to assume that these guys, based on the information Habibi and you lot shared, which is verified or not, I don't know, we have to dig in a bit further, but you're saying these guys are insiders. And to me, when I hear that these guys are insiders, it still makes the thesis stand, because it's okay, they're actors, part of this game.
I agree
So
with him. It's not bag bias. At that point,
yeah,
it's
I
not
wouldn't say
bag
it's
bias
bag
because they're
bias,
being
bro, because
manipulative.
like you're saying
Because
they're
bag bias
manipulative
is
in a bad way.
innocent.
It's like, okay, but where's the evidence that they are?
Yeah,
It's like
Yeah, yeah, no,
But
for
they,
sure.
but okay,
yeah.
but
I understand what he's saying.
you've had nine
this is where
iron,
Caddy comes in though.
but nine iron multiple times has spread false information. Like there was a point in time where he was leading people to believe that Richard was the exploiter. So now with this new information, if you do want to, however you want to take this, that means the entire time nine iron knew that the exploiter was not Richard. And like at that point, nine iron really just says whatever he needs to at the time to fit the narrative, because he contradicts himself
Oh, he's a furu.
24/7.
So he's a furu. Nice, surprising.
But I
Well,
mean, this is nothing new. Nine Iron has always said what's most convenient to the narrative at the time.
Well, if I could remind you guys that
The
9
fuck, man?
last year, 9 knew about this Vietnamese thing. He knew about it. So, and the fact that he never said anything, come on, like, why not?
But that's that kind of again brings up my point. If he, which we now know he knew, and again, this all stems from the fact, like the evidence presented by Katie, but however you want to say it. But like then, so 9iron has been spreading misinformation in the past just to lead the narrative in a better direction. So that brings up
You're
the
saying he spread
point of what
misinformation
has he
knowingly,
been truthful in?
spreading misinformation knowingly. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but this begs the question: what do we know that he's been truthful on
No, no,
now?
I'm saying you're saying that he spread misinformation knowingly with intent.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
I think it's a little more complicated than that, but yeah,
I
like
believe it's a little bit more
there's
complicated as
potential.
well. Yeah, yeah. And like I get everything you're saying. I'm not arguing against what you're saying. It's just information you're not providing to the pit of the chaos we're in, right? And it's cut.
Well, again, so
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
we're arguing about like who's good and who's bad, but we need to be thinking about what Katie is basically saying is like there's potential that 5996 and other people are working together, and if they take full control, we're like very fucked. That's what
Again,
I'm trying
not
to figure
But
out.
necessarily. That's not
Royson,
true.
I would actually agree with Habibi with the idea that like, and I said this to you at the start about the community taking control versus like whoever's doing this whole Pdai thing, whoever's pushing the buttons behind the scenes, they're taking control because it's like when you're letting the community take control, it's like you're I guess what I'm trying to say is where the guys who are holding Pdai bet on the narrative or bet on the idea that these guys are like benevolent actors or good actors, right? Whereas like some are arguing that actually it's some dodgy exploiters and that we need the community to take control and vote. So again, I'm still in the camp of like most likely the case of in both scenarios, whatever's going to happen, this exploiter, good or bad, is going to have the control. So at the start of when all this
Yeah,
at
that's
the start
true.
of when all this was happened, I already signed my grave and already signed my flight trips to wherever I can go in the world. Like I'm comfortable with both realities. That whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and I believe in. Like I'll be honest, bro. Like I've been watching Somi, bro. I've said this before, bro. Like I think he's still got the strongest thesis out of everything we've discussed. And I'm objective. I'm open. I'm not here to debate. I just think he's got the strongest thesis so far. And all the information you lot provided are good information. Some are good, some are misinformed, some are proven to be wrong, some are proven to be right. But all of the information provided hasn't really affected the thesis in any way, in my opinion. So all I'm saying about the idea of the P maker narrative and like we need to do this, I just feel like it's like unnecessary effort and energy, and it's just whatever's going to happen is already going to happen. So we just have to let it play out. But I like the intent that you have with the community and wanting to do it. But again, as Habibi said, like realistically, it might not be possible even if we wanted to do so. So that was just my opinion on your
Right. No,
P-maker
I
thing.
agree. It's like, yeah, whoever's behind it has billions of PDI.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's rigged in a way where they're going to get it either way. So yeah, yeah.
Could I know this has been brought up before, but could you share with us Somi's thesis? And this is a genuine question. I've asked the Pdai bros for some sort of thesis, some sort of reason,
Yeah.
and I've never gotten anything other than like belief. So can you share with me Somi's thesis?
Yeah, he's actually made one, I think one or two videos today or yesterday, and I'll try and summarize it as best as I can. But I'll share those videos to you, and then you can analyze it yourself. Better hear it from him. But from my understanding, he believes that this whole PDI thing about creating a decentralized stablecoin would be something someone like Richard Hart would do. Especially given the fact that Richard Hart front ran DeFi when he made Hex, and especially when you look at the product market fit for stablecoins and how much money there are in stables which basically have no yield. So there's a lot of potential when it comes to bringing like big billions of dollars to a chain like Pulsechain, which can provide incentives, like they bridge over their money, they can gain yield on it, and that's where the incentive token or something like the incentive token would come into effect. So in terms of the product market fit is there, but also the idea that when you look at like if Richard Hart is a genius, if he's a smart man, for him to like get sucker punched and for him to basically get cucked by let's not consider it's Vietnamese. Let's consider it some bad guys, some bad hackers or whatever it may be. Forget the Vietnamese guy. Whoever it is, like they were able to hijack this and were able to play this whole narrative for 2-3 years, outsmart Richard Hart and make it one of the most best performing tokens on Pulse Chain, and then for him to basically exploit it and make a mockery out of Pulse Chain, and then like in his belief, well, I don't know about his belief, but in my belief, if it turns out to be a massive scam, if it turns out to be a massive exploiter, if it turns out Richard Hart has nothing to do with it, then like it would definitely diminish trust, and it would definitely diminish reputation when it comes to Pulse Chain, and that would negatively affect the chain and the value of Pulse Chain, as it wouldn't be any different to any other layer one chain or layer two chain within the EVM ecosystem. So those were the main bits I got from it. And also, when you look at Richard Hart's tweets and his past videos and the way he acts, it does and all the coincidences and the way the price action works, it definitely does align to someone like Richard or his team or some of his friends in the MakerDAO ecosystem or some ETH guys being involved with it. Now, I explained it very like overview, but all the questions you may ask, I can try and find a video and I'll send it to you and you can analyze it yourself. But again, I'm not here to argue or debate about this thesis being right or wrong. But when I saw his video and understood it, and hearing your information and your insights, and looking at the market, looking at ETH, looking at general, things are dying right now, and one of the best coins is on Dai, on Pulsechain is Dai. Like, to me, it's like, as an investor, like, I think it's a good risk to reward. Like, do I think Richard Hart's behind it? I believe more likely than not, Richard Hart is behind it. Will he be able to peg it or not? That's a different question. But for the price,
Hey, can I put in here though? Can I step in
yeah,
and
you
just
can
say
step in.
real
I was going to
quick?
finish on my final point, bro.
I just to bring up, if you want to
No,
talk about
Habibi, let him finish.
Yeah, no,
Let,
no, no,
let,
yeah,
let,
yeah. So,
let
so
Base finish. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So basically, that was his summary. And my final point was that, like, when I'm looking at all the information I see, and when I'm looking at the risk to reward, again, I believe someone like Richard. I think the price is cheap, and I think when ETH starts to move, this will start to move. In fact, it's already moving anyway. So yeah, again, I'm not here to debate or argue. I'm not a Pdai maxi. I'm just an investor. I'm hedged in a lot of different Pulse Chain tokens. I'm hedged in base tokens. I'm hedged in gaming. But yeah, Pdai is definitely one of my biggest bags in Pulse
I
Chain. And as an outside investor, if Pdai does go to zero, that would make me, as an outside investor, very bearish on Pulse Chain. So that's how I see it personally for
so
me.
that's it's quite the opposite. Actually, I just to before I let Giga go
It
here,
could be the
just to give
opposite, but
you an
that's how I see it.
but
Yeah, yeah.
can I understand that's how you see it, but I want you to understand what you said. If PDI goes to zero, it's a very bad outlook for the chain, blah blah blah. It's actually quite the opposite right now. Everybody looking out from the outside in right now thinks we're a bunch of retards, because guess what? Because we're buying a coin that's being exploited. And I promise you, on the outside looking in, right now, us pumping PDI and supporting PDI is what's making people not want to come to this chain.
Why do you think
Uh,
Rabbi delisted her?
Uh,
Why do you think
Habibi,
Ignore,
Rabbi
Literally.
delisted her?
ignore. No,
yeah,
no, 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 no. Hold on, hold on. Let's not even bring up the fact that why did Robbie delist us, because that is speculation at the end of the day.
Is
Look
it?
at people like Ensem. Ensem called us a bunch of bots, and I promise you, Ensem tweeting about us as soon as the PDI thing starts. What is it called? That's when the PDI thing was really in its peak. That wasn't a coincidence. Whalefied. You could say Whalefied hates Pulse Chain, whatever you want to say about him, but guess what? He also made that same exact point. We're a bunch of retards for buying a coin that's being
yeah,
exploited from
yeah,
the
I,
outside
I,
yeah.
in
I
right
just want,
now.
I just want to, before you talk in circles, I just want to step in and say that I know for a fact there's an OG Hexagon. I don't know, like a lot of the guys who weren't around before Pulse Chain don't understand that Richard would talk to all of us. We would DM, like it wasn't like he's some weird god that we couldn't talk to. We all talked to him. And I know for a fact, I'll see if he wants to dox the messages. He'll probably not, because he's actually a pretty honorable kid. But he literally was messaging Richard on the last test net saying, "Hey dude, you literally missed this, and this. There's money to be taken out of these pools." And Richard could barely care less. He said he blew it off. So and I know that is how Richard behaved in the past when I had wrote him when Uniswap V3 came out. Me and him discussed it quite a bit, and it's very much like his attitude is very. He cares a lot less than I think a lot of people put on him.
Yeah, Habibi,
He's
just to your point, I really appreciate when you said that about the Rabbi thing and speculation. I really appreciate that point. And to your point about the outside world saying that you're a bunch of retards for buying PDI, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people think that people in Pulsechain were retards before PDI was in the first place. Like when I told people I was buying like the Richard Hart tokens. I was going to Pulsechain. They're like, why the fuck are you buying like the Pulsechain tokens? Richard Hart's a farmer. He's a scammer. Look at Hex is down 95%, 99%. So like people, the perception from my experience when it comes to Pulsechain was that people thought Pulsechain was retarded was retarded before Pdai was a thing. So I would have to say that I would have to say the perception
Yeah, but
hasn't
we're
changed just
making
because of
that
Pdai.
perception even worse, is my point.
Yeah, but I think execute. You got your
And
hand
it's
up,
the
brother.
opposite of what you were.
Yeah.
What you were saying is that it would be bad on on an outlook as the chain if Pdai
No,
went to zero.
yeah. We might be going
But
back in circles on this.
that's the opposite from the outside looking in right now. To the outside looking in, it's like, why the hell are we still buying? Why is this even a conversation?
No, because it means that like Richard Hart was shilling one of your like the best performing token on your chain
But
was like a scam.
Richard was telling again. Richard posting the chart being up was not for us to go buy it. It was
Yeah, and
to get
this is where
people on the ETH side.
this is where the thesis and the interpretation of the tweets and the perception and the first principles when it comes to understanding speculation on Pdai. This is where we differ on the first principles, and this is where the speculation game comes into effect. So yeah, I know Giga's laughing.
But it
So,
sounds
based OG, I've got a question.
Somi's theory is not built on
Wait.
any fact. Pure
Again, I don't want it to be a
speculation.
debate, bro. I don't want this to
No.
be that.
Based OG,
But
one thing, brother,
yeah,
one thing.
go on.
Richard Hart also posted PWBTC many times. Why does no one have the same energy for PWBTC?
That's a good question. And again, I'm not like a maxi. I'm
I
not like
can.
a guy representing these views. I don't know, bro. I don't know. You tell
That's
me.
because there's
Why
not
do
a
you lot get vexed
rumor.
about PDA? You tell me, boys.
That's because
I've got
there's
both
not a
bags.
rumor that Richard's behind it. That's why people don't get behind.
Just let you know, I've got bags. I've got ink bags. I've got PDI bags. I've got PWBTC
Okay,
bags. I've got
I'm
all the core
answering.
coins.
The only reason Pdai is as high as it is because the rumor that
So do
Richard
you
was
have 99
behind.
man?
You keep
That's
saying
the
you're
only.
not
Bro.
you also
I
keep
refuse
saying
to
you're not a
believe it's
maxi, but every single reply you have in your tweets is like Pdai to $1.
Yeah, bro,
Sell
because
this, sell
the
that. Buy
PDI is like
Pdai.
a conversation with me, sir.
That this chain is pretty much been doing dog shit since day one is, in my opinion, because of this exploit. And this person that's been doing this has been bringing down the whole chain. And you and some other PDI bros aren't paying attention to the CA and how there is contract risk. So if you are a YouTuber and Somi is the exact same thing, now that everybody knows there's an exploit, like everybody in this room, if they wanted to, could sue you and Somi and everybody else
Really?
because there is a contract risk. You're not supposed to, depending on what country you're in, but I'm pretty sure it's easy to do if you really wanted to. I don't know why you guys keep shilling this. Like, you're actually taking down the whole chain while you're trying to, like,
so you're gonna sue
make
me
this
because I'm
narrative.
buying PDI.
Yes, if you put $1 into that, you're actually
Okay.
taking $1 off the chain,
Look,
in my
I
opinion.
don't
Wow.
like. I
Okay,
don't
so
like the
everyone who's buying
wall
PDI, that
hog.
we should sue them, and like that's
You
what
could
he said,
buy
bro.
it.
He said if I bought PDI, he can sue me. What does
No,
that?
Just
How am I to
if you put
interpret
it on
that?
the timeline and you make videos and you go shill it and like you give financial advice, it's technically you can get sued for. I'm just saying in general. I'm not saying I'm going to do it. I'm just saying you could.
Yeah,
So be careful.
Yeah, he's not saying that people should. He's just saying, like, by
Yeah.
law, legal, like what Somi's doing. I don't know about you, Base. I haven't seen in your videos, but what Somi's doing could be trouble for him legally.
Yeah, and
Well,
the fact that you guys are putting in $1 and then he's taking out $40 or $40K at the end of the week, you're literally letting this person take your money.
Let me
Like,
give you an example.
Right.
openly.
Do you remember Bitconnect? Do you remember what happened to the people that were shilling Carlos? I think even Trayvon got into.
That was before my time. I was in my mom's womb back then, brother. You
Right.
got to educate me.
So basically, in 2017, there was a coin called Bitconnect that was basically turned out to be a big scam, Ponzi, and there were people pushing it. And I don't believe that they knew that it was going to collapse. I just believe, like, people like Trayvon James and Carlos, I can't remember his name. You know, the whole hey, that guy.
Yeah.
Trevor was one of the first videos I ever saw in an ad.
Yeah. So when Bitconnect collapsed, because it was a Ponzi, like when the money stopped coming in, the whole thing fell apart. And the people that were pushing it, whether they knew it was a scam from the beginning or they were just pushing it because they believed in it, they all got into legal trouble. So what Execute is saying, he's not saying, oh, we should all be suing people. Like, no, we're not those type of people. But there are people out there that could take legal action against someone like Somi, who is actively and verifiably buying the token on his wallets and shilling it. That is what Execute is saying. He's not saying by any means that we
And
should
it
be
goes,
suing people.
it totally goes by jurisdiction. So I'm just saying, in general, it's probably not
Yeah.
a good thing to practice. And
Yeah.
secondly, pretty much everybody on this chain, if you have the right person to do chain analysis and you either funded your wallet through a centralized exchange, you're technically doxed. Like, unless you have really, really good ins and outs. And in my opinion, I think like 90% of the chain is completely doxed. And your exploiter bridged in 10 ETH, which is over the legal limit to withdraw from Binance without doing KYC. So that wallet he funded the other day was a KYC wallet from Binance.
So you're
Somebody
saying,
in this
we know
ecosystem
who
is going
we,
to take that address and send
yeah.
it to Binance and be like, hey, this person has been exploiting this chain for give or take $24 million to $50 million. Can you or will you give us this person's name, or just report it to the government that that person's jurisdiction is in? And I think that will happen.
That's interesting. So do you think it might be worth spending a few hours just to pursue that route? Because you're claiming that the exploiter's wallet's been doxed and he's had a KYC. So the energy we put into basically giving Rabbi a 1 star, we can help the chain, help deluded Pdai guys in your perspective, help them realize that actually the exploiter is some dodgy guy stealing from the chain. Shall we put some time and energy and effort to pursuing that route if it's actually possible to
Well, when it
execute?
comes to that, bro, you can't just make tweets about it and be loud about it. You got to email Binance. You got to do things
You have to
privately,
get
bro. You got
law enforcement involved.
Yeah.
That no, it's not
And
even
It's
So
that.
not
why
the
can't
same
we do
thing,
that?
bro.
No, you
It's
can
not the same thing,
just
bro. You're asking for two
no.
different
You
things.
just go to Binance and they have like a tab. You just submit like fraudulent addresses, and then they'll
So has
blacklist
anyone done
that
that?
person. I don't know. I'm sure somebody will.
I think that might be, if that's possible, execute, bro. Seems like a very good idea to do. You're saying it's possible that there's a link to Dox's wallet and there's a KYC. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think that might be worth our time.
Well, Binance
100%.
won't.
I agree.
Binance
Let's
won't
do it.
dox it
Let's do
to
it.
us.
Let's do it for the
No,
community.
wait. First of all, Binance isn't going to give us the docs information, right? They could investigate, but we're not going to get that information. But maybe it will stop if the guy who put that 10 ETH in actually has a Binance account in his name. I'm sure. I can't say I'm sure, but a lot of people that do this kind of shit, they pay for Binance accounts. You can pay for KYC Binance accounts. It's very easy to do. So like, it's not going to be like 100%. We're going to like figure out who it is, or Binance is going to stop who it is, because again, anyone that's sophisticated and running these kind of scams or schemes, they buy KYC Binance accounts to use. They're not going to KYC themselves.
Right. But I
Yeah,
like to think we're all solution
and just
focused.
going forward, I'm just gonna say it again.
Go on.
If you put $1 into Pdai today, you're technically taking $1 off the chain.
Again,
And if the coin goes up
yeah.
even more, then you're taking out even more.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there's no
So
point saying that, execute, man. You know what? Is whatever
No,
they
but
do is
he's
entirely up to
absolutely
them.
no. But it's actually the truth. Like you have to understand. The more liquidity is fed to this problem, the more will be taken out in the long term. That's what he's saying,
All
and
right,
it's
look, the way I
100% the
see it,
truth.
bros. Look, I hear it completely, bro. I hear it exactly what you guys are saying. But the sad reality of it, that will never, ever in a million years happen, right? And we all know this. You can tell someone to stop buying something, and potentially will fuel them to buy more,
It
because
has
that's just
definitely
how the
fueled
world
them.
works.
no,
It has
that's
definitely
fine.
fueled them.
But I'm saying there's probably at least 10 devs sitting in the background trying to figure out how to do this. And if we can figure out how to do this, we are going to put that coin so far up your ass, you won't even see it on the chart. It's just going to be a flat line.
Do it, brother, because we want to see if the token's a scam or not. And like, I get
You want
your
to see
conviction.
if the token, they've been taking a
I
half
want
a
you to
million
rug
dollars
it.
off the
I want
chain
the 10 devs
for
in
2
the to rug it
years.
to zero.
What you're
Rug it to
saying.
zero, bro. Prove me wrong.
If
He's a
Richard wanted to
fucking
do it,
wanker,
he
sounds like,
would
bro.
Oh,
do
by the
it
way, guys, 100K just been.
100% with his
Yeah.
own keys, with his own everything. He wouldn't give governance to anybody on this chain. You have no governance. This chain is like pretty much the closest tight-lipped chain you could ever be on, which is a good thing because you have to have trust in Richard, and that's pretty much it at the end of the day with this chain. It's the most decentralized, centralized blockchain I would on the internet.
So what I'm hearing is you're telling me Rich is a liar. because he's saying he believes in
He's
decentralization and
always
shit.
been a liar, man. He told
Right.
people,
Well,
he said
he's got to
fuck
tout
ETH.
the
He said
narrative, but
D-
at the
he
end of the
told
day,
everyone fuck ETH and bought the most of
it's
it.
it's
So,
Come
so,
on.
so
All right, but that comes down to Richard Hart saying meme coins are trash and things like this, and then he
Yeah.
ends up
He's
launching
literally
terms.
done the opposite of what he's said, like for the last 10
yeah.
years, bro. Like, maybe not, you don't have to call him a liar, but like, he's not very, sometimes he's disingenuous. He told everybody, literally for years, Ethereum was garbage and it's going to zero and it's got all these issues. But then when
Yeah.
he wanted to launch Hex, all of a sudden, Bitcoin's garbage and Ethereum's the new thing. So you can't take what
it
Richard
it
Yeah.
Hart
Yeah.
says
it just
at
comes with the
face value all
narrative,
the
right?
time.
Yo, do you think he's being disingenuous about Pdai then?
He
Like,
never
is that a
said anything about
possibility?
no, bro. What did he say about Pdai apart from
No,
still
this is my
buying
point,
it?
brother. This is exactly my point because you lot said he lied about ETH and like Hex and
No, I
whatever.
never said. Listen, he does whatever suits his narrative. He wanted to
Right.
launch a coin on Ethereum called Hex, but he was bashing Ethereum before that. Do you
Yeah.
think he actually thinks that Ethereum is better than Bitcoin? Of course not. But he had to say that. He had to change his worldview, quote unquote, in order to push Hex because he was going to launch that. Now, what you're saying is, oh, he's coming on Twitter and saying, stop buying this. It's being exploited. There's a guy extracting. Like, you guys are stupid. Maria's an idiot. You think that he's being disingenuous by saying that. Brother, that's not the same thing. That's not the
I
same
think
thing.
that the philosophy and the way that you've understood Richard with the ETH example could and should be applied to the PDI example,
It's
Well,
not
and
the
they're both
same thing,
consistent
bro.
in his
hold on a
patterns
It's
of
second.
not.
behavior.
Base, if I
You
could,
cannot compare that.
he
Sorry.
You could
Richard
compare
doesn't
it.
use Twitter. Okay, so you have to remember that he doesn't use Twitter. So you got to take that into consideration. That's what Panos is saying.
Yeah.
Not everything is
It's,
literally a lie.
bro, boys, I think, are you hearing what I'm hearing? Like, you're basically saying the PDI
No,
shit could
no.
be true.
I think no. I think there's a
Anyone want
big
to jump in? Am
there's
I
a big
hearing shit?
difference. No, there's a big difference from saying, "Oh, I don't like Ethereum," to "I like Ethereum because I want to launch a coin on it."
The guy
That's a
said
big
PDI
difference,
stupid. The guy said PDI stupid. Now
bro.
he's going to
He's
say PDI
literally
smart.
spelling it out for everybody that this is what is going on. Remove your liquidity and stop buying it. Now, imagine the trouble he would get in if he all of a sudden flips the switch and creates a decentralized stablecoin after fudding everyone out their bags, if that's what you're saying, that he's fudding people out. Like, this is not someone that is going to take that risk.
Did he sell? Like, did he say
Yeah, he
the
did.
specific words? Like, I'm saying, did he
He
say
did
do not?
sell.
Did he say sell in his
He was
tweets?
selling into pump tires.
I
Right.
know, but did he say in his
He said,
tweets,
remove your
you lot need to sell?
liquidity.
Yeah, he said
No.
remove your liquidity and you're better off buying other things.
Yeah.
And he said to
I
sell
mean,
PDI.
I don't know how like much more obvious it needs to be that he's not
Yeah, but bro,
like behind this.
he can't tell you to do it. Like, it's the same way people come up here and say no financial advice, even though you're in no way, shape, or form a financial advisor. Now you're gonna go and tell Richard to
Yeah.
do the financial advice. You say, bro, how many hypocrites do I have to listen to at some point?
Yeah, no, it's good speculation and good
No,
conversation
but
we're having. Just the final thing,
I
I
know,
just
but think about it. You want
yeah,
Richard to give financial advice when you can't give financial advice. That's
yeah,
retarded. So
yeah, and
what
no,
do people expect
yeah.
from the guy?
Yeah, no, Panos, and again, look, I say this with love. I really appreciate. I know you say I badmouth you, and I do appreciate
I
you
never
hold.
said that, by the
That
way.
was me
Okay,
who said that,
KR,
by the
yeah.
way.
But I always like you host these spaces. Like it's definitely like something for Post. I don't think I've seen these kind of spaces before. Now I just want to say one final thing. Like
That's
if the
okay.
price somehow went up, yeah. If it somehow went up to like 1 cent or 3 cent or 5 cent, like what would the price change your worldview, or would like some piece of information change your
So the
worldview?
only way
That
the price is going to 1 or 5 cent, bro, is if the whole chain moves up. This is what you
right.
got to
Yeah.
understand, right? So money gets put into Pulse, and because there's still liquidity between Pulse and Pdai, Pdai will go like this. Is look. What you got to look at is when Richard Hart injected $1.4 million into the chain. Okay, when the SEC case was dismissed on that same day, he bought Pulsex. Okay, he bought Pulsex and Pulse. Every coin on the chain done 50 to 80% that same day. Not because people were buying it, bro, but because Hart's law works. Okay, so everything. So, bro, if there wasn't a minter, bro, go through my timeline, bro. You can see how many times I've showed Pdai.
Nah.
When I say I'm unbiased, bro, the reason we was hosting these spaces in the beginning was for people to understand the truth. Okay, there's facts and there's speculations, brother. Okay, the facts are that this minter has took a lot of money off the chain. Okay, I'm not even talking about what he took in the past. Okay? I care about the last couple of weeks that he did take money off the chain and it did affect the price because there is barely any liquidity. So when you're taking $4 million out of a chain that has what? How much liquidity has it got between Pulse and Dai? I think it's like 9 million. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
that's
wrong.
right. I
Yep.
think so. Yeah.
It is affecting the price, brother. Okay,
Yeah, no, it's
all
true.
these
But
little
yeah.
mints that he's doing now, in my personal opinion, no, they don't affect the chain. I'll be honest. And people might say, "KO, you're retarded." I don't think he's affecting the chain, right? Okay,
Okay.
but that
Yeah.
last couple of weeks when we started hosting the paces, 100% he was affecting the chain. It's all
Okay.
on chain, and you can see it. This is why Richard Hart stepped in, bro. And it was the thing at first he was doing question marks and it was speculation, right? There was plenty of times in these spaces, bro. I literally was the guy playing the devil's advocate against the people that was playing FUD and PDAI because no one wanted to join and actually argue. So I was the one that was asking the questions because at the same time, I don't want these spaces being very against PDAI because they're not. I want people to know the truth, brother.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah,
Now I
but
respect that. I
guys,
respect. So just one question, bro.
guys,
One final
quickly,
Oh,
question.
quickly.
Go on. Go on.
So just so you know, like I know people think this is like the anti-PDI space, but if you come into these spaces, we let people come on. Like Royston's always up. Like we let him
Royston's heard
speak.
the conversation from this morning, bro.
Yeah,
Not
like
once did we mention PDAI, bro.
we're not against it in the sense that we hate it. We just know it's a problem and we want to get to the bottom. We would all love for this imaginary story to be true of this pegging because we would all be minted. The whole chain would go up, but that's not the case. So
Okay.
we're just trying to figure out what is actually going on and who are the bad actors because yeah, you can be like there's a guy in Vietnam, sure, but there's a much bigger group involved here. And we're just trying to figure out who they are because we don't want them leading people astray on this chain, destroying them financially and extracting from this chain. But like, it needs to stop. It's a
Fine.
By
problem.
the
Fine.
way,
No.
based
okay.
OG, I had one thing to say to you, bro.
If I
You've been in
can
Royston
jump in after
spaces
that,
and
yeah.
you've literally, apparently, I've literally just had a comment saying for 2 weeks you've been bad mouthing and calling the speakers in this space scammers in Royston spaces. So,
Yeah,
next
you've
time just
had
think twice,
speakers.
bro.
You've had Yeah, no, I will play nice. I will double down. You've had
I
speakers
said
who are
think
scammers.
twice, not play nice, bro. Just think twice.
Yeah, you've had speakers who are scammers. But my question to you, bro, and this is a question I wanted to ask. What will change your view that actually that the exploiters aren't bad? Like, what piece of information would you like to see, or would you need to
That's
see?
getting all the
All that
money that they
money,
took off the chain
yeah,
to
all
come
that
back on the
money come
chain,
back.
brother.
So that money to be pumped back in. That's all you need to see. It's a money thing for you, right?
Well, I mean, how are you not a bad actor if you're completely taking millions off the chain and not bringing it back, bro? How
Right.
does that
Okay.
not make you a
So
bad
so
actor?
you need to see the money come in, and then that's basically what will give you the impression that this was all part of a plan, right?
Potentially, yes, but and bro, Richard Hart says completely otherwise, in my opinion. And like we just said, him saying what he's just said, all the threads that he's made, every single information that he's put out there, and if it is him behind it all, he can get into a lot of legal trouble because of this, bro. A lot. So it's like, okay, and number one, why is he gonna be fudding out a community out of Pdai? When he's literally been screaming for people to buy his core coins. There's videos of Richard Hart literally saying, I don't need no one to build on this chain. You have everything already built. You have your cores, you have Pulsex, you have your Pulse, you have your ink, you have your hex. What else do I need? I don't need nothing else. He shields his coins. Until the other day, he's never mentioned PDAI. Never. He's put charts up saying, hey, ETH bros, come take your free tokens. That's all
All
he's
right.
ever done.
Yeah, yeah. And in the past, he's also mentioned that if there's a scam or if there's something, you don't give it airtime. He's tweeted 34 times about it in March. And also, Panos had conceded the idea that Richard Hart can be disingenuous. He can be playing his thing to his own agenda. So we should also take that into account when it comes to pursuing truth, right? And I consider the fact that, okay, you believe that there's the evidence right now that we've seen in the past few weeks could suggest more likely than not that the actor is bad, but we should open to the idea, the possibility that actually it's not as bad as we're making it out to be, that actually there could be something behind the scenes that we should
Okay,
also
well, the other
we're
day,
open
bro,
to that. We're
the
open to
other
that,
day,
right?
the Minter brought in another 20K, and then what did he end up doing? I
No,
see a
brother, I'm
lot
not
of
talking about the
tweets.
details. I'm just talking about the idea that we're open to the idea. We're not. You're saying like he's a scammer confirmed. That's what I don't understand. You're saying he's a scammer
Here's the thing.
confirmed.
It's
He's
impossible
guilty.
to peg. It's
He's
impossible. So
guilty
I don't
until proven
understand the
otherwise, right?
conversation.
No, but listen, bro. Okay, hear me out on this one. How would you expect it to peg? Number one.
How would I expect it to peg?
Yes.
You gotta ask the tech guys, bro. But from my
I,
understanding, like from being in the telegrams, from hearing people like Somi and how they describe it with the thesis and using things like the collateral and the amount of Pdai that these
the
wallets
brother
would be
Somi
So
can't
holding,
you
even get.
and the
so you
OA
basically
wallets
don't know.
and
So you
The
basically so
precipitation
you
and the
don't.
well,
So you
condensation
if
don't.
I
and the
did know,
evaporation
bro,
of it.
if I did know, I would basically get a
Yeah, but
mortgage
you
and
don't
Dude, this
know,
guy said
Pdai. What do you
Pdai.
mean?
condensation,
Your
bro.
whole thesis of why you believe it now is backed by just speculation.
The
It's
whole
crypto
No, but
because I'm able to verify everything.
based OG, what we're saying is we can look at the contracts and I can for a fact tell you it's impossible to peg that to $1. I can tell you that right now.
it's impossible to peg it to $1
It's impossible to
based on the
peg it to
current
Correct.
contract.
That is an
Correct.
absolute fact.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we'll have to see, bro.
Let Royston speak, guys. Yeah,
Can I
go on,
jump in?
Royston.
Okay, so if based off Habibi's like what he posted, right? If you take that, if you take it seriously, then you have to consider. Katie also said it is possible for this to happen over a long period of time, but the spell has to be accepted that they're working on right now, and then the flop auctions have to start, and that's when, in her view, the community would basically bid with everyone else, and P Maker would be
Yeah.
spread
So,
out, and we'd
but
burn a ton
no, that's what.
of
Yes,
PDI.
but you're still not burning anywhere remotely close to the amount of PDI that you would have to, because if like
Right. I'm not arguing for Peg right now. I'm just saying in terms of like where we go from here.
sure,
If what she's saying is true and we don't know the bad actors behind it and the good actors,
there's ways to shut it off. I've
yeah,
been
that's
saying that
all.
from the beginning. There's ways to shut it off.
But I to just to say something, I've always said from like day dot that there's something very sus about 99 and decentralized me because of how hard they try to shill and how they pivot when one narrative is like looking like it's bullshit. They'll pivot to something else. It does seem very suspect to me, almost like they're paid or they got gifted a big bag of it to shill. But who, like, again, this
Yeah,
is just me
Panos, I agree
speculating.
with you. I would definitely look. I would definitely say that they do have. Like, I would say more likely than not, they have inside information. I have no problem saying that. I don't think like for me that's not an issue. The issue is, are they good guys? Like, is this beneficial? Like, is this beneficial for
Right.
Pulsechain or are they devious extractors? And I guess
Has
you know
okay, but
we
has
Well, Katie's saying that someone's trying to put a spell for it that'd basically be like a
okay.
rug pull, fuck over
Let's look at it like this. Has
everything
it
else.
been beneficial for Pulsechain so far? Yes or no?
Pdai
Yes. Has this whole narrative and PDI been beneficial for Pulsechain?
like based on what parameter of like success are we
If there
talking
was
about?
no extract, I would say yes.
Okay.
Personally,
If
yes.
look at it like
Yeah,
this.
right.
If PDI didn't exist versus what the reality we're in, like where would Pulsechain be? Would Pulsechain be in a better place if that narrative didn't exist and no one bought PDI, or are we in a better position now?
Can I be honest with you? But my opinion would be Pulsechain would still be down because ETH is down. Like I do believe that
Sure.
like okay, you could say I understand the argument that this extractor is like taking confidence or taking liquidity from the chain. I understand it, I get it. But I also understand that a bigger driving force behind why a lot of altcoins, especially EVM linked coins, especially coins which are leveraged on ETH are down is because ETH has been absolutely dog shit. Like I think
I
we
agree.
can't
I
we can't
agree. There is
devalue
a
that.
no. I'm not devaluing that at all. I'm the first to say that there's a correlation to the macro when it comes to tokens being down. But
Yeah.
brother, let's say I don't even know the exact amount, but let's just say around $20 to $30 million has been taken off chain, not returned back on chain, removed. We would be higher in price. If atropa didn't exist and that ecosystem didn't exist, the cause would be higher in price. So like, but my point is, we are not better off with this and with the atropa bullshit than if none of it existed. We would be higher. How much higher? I don't know, but we would be better off if it didn't exist. That is my point. That's why I was asking you, like, are we better off now in the reality we're in, or are we better off before, or would we be better off in an alternative reality where Pdai did, and that narrative and atropa and Maria didn't exist?
Yeah, you see, like my honest answer would genuinely be like we really have to wait and see. Like we would have to wait and see until December to see who's like what's right or what's wrong. Is PDI
Why
actually a
December?
scam? Yeah,
Why
I'm
December?
just giving you an example. I'm just giving you an example. I think December, like that's where we'd get like to where ETH would be 6 to 8K. I do believe ETH will still move. I do believe like we are still in a bull run. I still do believe that we are going to top maybe Q4 2025, Q1 2026. So in that world, we will have an idea of a lot of different factors, including this whole PDI situation, whether it was a massive rug exploit, whereas you'd be right, or if it was actually part of like some grand psyop conspiracy theory, which a lot of like people are speculating on, both right, left curving it and right curving it. So my honest answer would be like we're kind of in round 3 of round 10 of a 10-round boxing fight, and we'd have to wait until then to get a definite answer. Because when you're looking at a specific time frame, you could you could picture, you can make a story if by dictating any time frame. Look at history, like propaganda, how propaganda works. They pick and choose dates. And I'm not here to argue. I'm just giving you like an idea of how stuff works. You can pick and choose dates. So I look at between these 2 dates. Look how bad these guys were. Look what's happening here. But then you exclude a lot of of the different time frames. So yeah, when you look at the picture now, it does look bleak. It does look like a lot scary. That's why the price is down. That's why everyone's flooding it. That's why the majority of people hate this token and they think like it's a leech and a virus. But my honest answer, as I've said, is let's wait until end of the year, and then we'll have then I will give you an answer that I'm comfortable giving. So
Wait,
that's my
Hey,
opinion.
Giga, and this, I want to get your opinion
Yeah,
real
yeah.
quick. So the 5996 can basically control whether we go to flop auctions or not, right? So it's kind of in a way up to
Royston's my
them
quant
or
guy.
him,
He can give you
whoever's.
the details. But yeah, this goes back to my
All right,
point about
all
whatever's
right,
written is
Base OG.
written.
He
hold
just
on.
asked the question, bro. Let Giga answer the question, bro.
I'm so sorry. I
It's all
thought
good.
you asked me, brother. I'm so sorry.
You're good. Yeah, just I know
Uh,
Giga knows a lot about this.
I'm sorry, my kids are like screaming. What was that?
So it's pretty much up to the exploiter whether we get to flop auctions or the 5996, whatever you think they are, if we go to flop P maker auctions, right? And that's kind of
Look,
a critical point
I
of.
can't say it without I can't say that with certainty, but from my base understanding, it looks to be the case that unless someone is paying off their bad debts excessively, this is the easiest way to describe it, is the system produces income, which it calls joy, and it uses that to pay off the bad debts. And what we saw when he was going ham was he was just destroying the system. He was taking all the joy out of the system because he was creating this massive amount of bad debt, which is called sin. And for whatever reason, whether it's because he can or he can't, I'm not exactly sure, or if it's just not quite profitable right now, which is I think the case, then he's just gonna let that joy reaccumulate, and he can come back in later and run it back turbo.
Giga.
So
So his window will always be there, or will it shrink to a point where he can go ping pong back and forth, and then at some point it's like, all right, that's enough. The system's broken. Like it's too much.
well, so like before, technically, if anyone wanted to spend a little bit of money when the joy got very low the last time, someone could technically push it over the edge. I would assume. I'm just not sure how. I'm not sure how profitable it would be. I think you would be losing money forcing it into flops.
Giga, doesn't matter how many vaults. Doesn't matter about the vaults. Like if he opens like another one or whatever, does that factor into all of that?
Well, he's got like hundreds of them, or maybe not hundreds, but he's got several dozen vaults
Right.
right now.
So if he
I think
has more, does that factor into this? Does that change
well,
anything?
I think I would have to read exactly the contract and how it works, but what he's doing is he's buying. I'm trying to think like the easiest way to describe this. So if someone had a vault that was like 2,000 pulse or ETH whatever, and they took out 10 million Dai, that when that debt goes bad, he's able to buy that debt for like 5 million Dai, and then now he frees 10 million Dai from the ceiling, but then he takes a loan out against that, and now he's basically created more bad debt. So then that depletes the joy.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
It just looks like he can kind of maneuver the join the sin however he pleases, since he's the primary controller of like all of the vaults, really.
And that's what I was gonna say. Say to Based, like he's like, well, let's wait and see. Wait and see for what? Tens of millions more to come out of the system. We don't even have tens of millions more. So it's a pretty dire thing for them.
Well, there's no control. Like we have very little control besides not buying. So I'm gonna just do a breakdown of what I see is happening. So we have two people trying to cast two different types of spells. One fix the Oracle and nothing else. Katie would fix pretty much everything, including the Oracle. Let us go to flop. The auctions would happen. It'd be a public auction sort of. The other side is like keep it on the down low. This entity would take all the P maker, and then be able to control the system and fix whatever they need to do. But like, is there any other option there, or is that pretty much exactly what's going to play out on either side?
So why, basically, if what you're saying is the spell would be the only reason you would cast a spell is because you would be trying to trigger the shutdown, not because if you're trying to if you're trying to cast like an oracle change, then all you're going to do is cause an instant liquidation across all vaults.
Right.
And you'll have this, like, the system is going to say, hey, I've got $20 billion or 20 billion dollars, yeah, of bad debt. And then it's just going to mint a
We just shut
gazillion
down
maker.
essentially.
And then it's like anyone can come in now and buy maker for virtually nothing. And then it's just like a power grab. And
Yeah, Alex
whoever
warned us about
accumulates
that.
the most and then like whoever accumulates the most maker now basically effectively gets to just come in, and then they could just alter the ceilings in infinite mint.
Do you know who has the hat right now? Because I've heard some people think it's 5996, and then others are obviously like the B22F
So with Nine
from
Iron
2023.
interpretation of a hat, I think it's actually wrong, because when I was reading about a hat, it's actually I wanted to say it's something like it's the spell that acquired enough votes, but that
46,000. Yeah.
yeah, but it's not I don't think it's a user. I think it's a
Correct.
spell that acquires the votes
Yes.
and becomes the hat. So then
And I've read that it could be not even a single entity as well. If you could have it could be a contract, and you could have multiple people be the hat basically, and a contract is the hat. That's what I read.
yeah,
So
it's
but the
possible.
46,000 right now is locked in there, or is that liquid to whoever, or do they get it back once the new contract is then put in
I actually don't know
as
the
the
answer to
new?
that. I don't know how
Okay, because
exactly
that's what
how
I'm
the
confused. Like,
locking
then
would
how is
work.
anyone voting? All right, I'm gonna look into that right now because that's actually a good question.
Yeah, so I think we know 3 people on top of our heads who want to be included in there. So gotta watch out for that.
I would also like to preface it with the fact that there are multiple people doing this exploit now. That wallet that Richard had posted, the one ending in I think it's like 5 EEA or something, that is a different person than who's doing than the Vietnamese dude or whatever you want to call him.
Well, it looks like it, right? Like
It is more
like,
than likely a different person.
there's behavior that's different, which is that address is running a contract that is completely different than the other one. Now, could it just be an update? Sure, but then you still see activity from the original guy. So it's like timing doesn't line up either. So it could be him, it could not be, but yeah, like if you had to take a bet, if you had to put money on it, you would have to say probably that it's a different guy, but it's like still so close to being 50-50.
Say, like I said, it's just because the guy's actions are so much different than our Vietnamese dude. Even the way that he uses his contract. Like a small example is our Vietnamese dude loves adding whitelists into his contracts, and our new guy isn't, which means that his address is probably hard coded into that no need for a whitelist, which is again just not how the Vietnamese dude behaves.
It's just usually a known function, so it's like you don't have to go in, but the other guy's whitelist just allows him to go, like, if he has multiple addresses, he could just go say like, oh, this address of mine over here can use this contract too, instead of just the owner.
Very interesting stuff though. It looks like the wallets were moving P maker around to a contract for that one to be the hat. It's very confusing. According to a token sniffer, there's a random wallet with almost nothing in it. That's apparently the owner of this contract. So I'm very confused as to what's happening. It's a complex system. There's a lot to it. It's not as simple as people think. Oh, I see something in a wallet, but it doesn't mean that that wallet might actually be the hack. I think from what I'm seeing.
Well, so basically, we're waiting to see who's really behind it. If it's connected to B22F, he's going to approve the spell that he thinks is right. Those maker tokens are going to just be unassigned or burnt and then reminted for the new contract.